Excellent. Welcome to Truth in Telecoms. I'm not sure whether we're doing a beauty contest on this, but Johnny, how are you?
Well, first of all, I want to thank the Viz, which I knew he would show up because he's the Viz. He's the only guy in this industry. There's very few guys on his level of balls. I mean, if you have a chance to follow him on X, which not a lot of people do because not really a lot of people follow him on X. He has his own opinion on things, and I quite follow him there. And he has a really unique view on life and on whether it be climate or whether it be free speech or whether it be Europe or whether it be a lot of things. I find him. I admire his views and agree, unfortunately, for myself with him in a lot of ways because we're kind of like in the fucking minority on a lot of things. So I want to thank the Viz. And yes, look, Alan just got a haircut because the Viz showed up. As everybody knows, I've been screaming to Alan to get a haircut for months. He gets a haircut, and look how handsome he is. So now he gets thrown in to the sexiest man alive, sexiest man in SMS contest. Yeah, I mean, so look, Viz, thank you so much for accepting my bait.
Thank you, thank you for my new nickname.
Yeah, what, the Viz?
Yeah, Fish actually means fish. So it's been it's been like, how long have I not been in school? But like forever, like 25 years or something. Mm-hmm. But 25 years ago, people in school used to call me Fish.
Fish. The Viz. They called you the Viz.
Yeah, but keep it the Viz. Don't change the Fish. I hate it.
No, the Viz is a cool look. I grew up literally 10 miles from where that orange guy is running for president here lives. And people don't understand where I'm from. Everybody has a nickname. It's like the Queens Long Island border. And you don't have a real, you just have a nickname. So it's not something that he created. It's just something that if you come to this neck of the woods, people just have nicknames. It's a lot of Italian, old European, just a mix. And it's just a nickname is the thing. But the Viz is like, I mean, how can you not be the Viz? I mean, it's like right there in front of you. It's like too easy. But I want to dive into it, Robert. And the first thing I want to do is I want to talk about how shocking some of your progression that as far as where you've taken Bird right now. So, I noticed something when I posted yesterday. An old friend of mine, Gene Liu, who founded Haywire many years ago. I don't know if you know Gene. He's at Salesforce.
I don't know Gene, but I know Haywire.
Okay, so Gene founded Haywire. My partner, Rick Joyce, who was my partner at TCR Acquisition, he was also the attorney at Venable. He was Gene's lawyer. He's also the former chief counsel, head of cyber for the U.S. Coast Guard, because we were involved in that whole campaign registry insanity. He used to represent him, and John, he would just tell me how brilliant Gene was. And then I met Gene at the CTIA conferences that we had when I had one of the three hubs. So I would be sitting there as Iris, which was me and one carrier, and then I'd have Cineverse, and I'd have SAP, and I'd have the mobile operators, and you'd have Doug Gardner from Twilio, and you'd have the guys from ZipWhip, and it'd all be a lot of fighting. And I got very friendly with Gene. But Gene went to Salesforce. Gene had a lot of patents too, like Thorsten, but he had patents that he's actually monetized. And he sold his company to Salesforce and became the principal architect of mobile. So I still keep in touch with Gene, and he popped up. And he doesn't pop up at all, but he popped up when Bird came up and CRM. So I'm saying to myself, well, Gene's got to be maybe concerned because without Gene, Salesforce does not go to mobile. He was the smartest guy in our industry from a technical standpoint. And I'm going back a decade. You know what I mean? So I think you're on Gene's radar. So you're gone from like the criminals in SMS to the big boys. So congratulations. I mean,
you guys don't get enough credit for being so funny. It's just like, I read all your posts and I'm like, I don't know sometimes whether to like or not because I start fighting with everybody in the industry if I like too much. But like, I still need some of them. Like it's not over yet. But at the same time, it's freaking hilarious.
We got to laugh. Alan and I have been around. I'm 58. I've been around. You've seen too much. And if you don't laugh, I mean, what's the point of life? If you don't find humor, I mean, I'm the dumbest guy in the industry. I took an asset called Irish Wireless and sued Cineverse. Didn't really know the value of it, but obviously, as we know, Twilio paid $750 million for a minority stake in Cineverse to get the same access that I had. And I'm the dumbest guy in the world. I used it to restructure these two Germans in Germany, who, by the way, I'm like the only guy in the world. I got to find the two dumbest people in Germany. I mean, Germans are so smart altogether. I find the only two morons in the whole country. It's quite amazing, but we got to have fun. I have fun a lot more than Alan. Look, we've had some kind of audiences. I mean, we did your podcast. You got 5,000 views, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a lot. And you got that when we were banned.
Yeah.
But we were doing podcasts with 70,000+ views when Alan got Jeff Lawson fired from Twilio. That was Alan, by the way, just so you know. He got Alan fired when he exposed the fact that the minority stake he bought in Twilio and Cineverse was kind of illegal, because you don't buy a minority stake in a company with public shareholders' money when there's another $2 billion in debt behind it and nothing.
In fairness, I like Cineverse, though. You know why I like Cineverse?
Look, I love Cineverse. John Wick, I just did a whole podcast on John Wick. Go watch my podcast on John Wick. I fought Cineverse. I had them beat, they settled with me because I wasn't stupid enough to go all the way to trial with them, because they're owned by the Carlyle Group. And Tintec found out the hard way. Tintec got passed a motion to dismiss, just so you know how they lost, these idiots. And then they went to Cineverse. I literally got the access to the chairman of Carlyle, literally the CEO of Carlyle, through a friend of mine, and said, go settle this. They fly to Germany. They try to settle with the Germans because Thorsten had them in court. And the Germans asking for $100 million in new agreements. So they fly back, and all of a sudden, Tintec finds out what America's all about. And the judge that ruled in their favor retired, and they nominated a magistrate judge in Tampa, and he overruled. And then Tintec went from winning to losing and spending $9 million doing it because they thought they could do whatever they want here. And you really can't. But Cineverse, look, you have to like Cineverse. You don't have a choice. Well, what's your choice? You know, and look, John Wick, go look at my podcast on John Wick. I mean, I go back with John Wick. He's a gentleman. Nobody could talk about him the way I talk about him.
But
you know
Robert, why do you like Cineverse?
I don't, we're less close to them than you might think, but like, you know what I think it is? A lot of these companies are made, there's management, there's owners, and there's a lot to be said for them. And honestly, I'm not like trying to chicken out. I honestly do not know enough about it to judge there, but there are some really good people at Cineverse. So when I say I like them, I would argue the folks that we deal with on the account management side and the sales management side and the procurement side and the routing side. And, I always hear from the team how well they work with them. So that's more what I mean with,
well, there's a new breed at Cineverse. So going back a decade when they tried to cripple me being the third asset. And look, I just restructured a company. I couldn't spell text messaging, Robert. I come from the calling card industry. What the fuck's a text message? Excuse my language. And I restructured this company, wiped out $30 million in debt. And then they had this crazy CEO who decided, like, oh, no, I'm not going to give you a new agreement. It's like, what do you mean? They're auto-renewed the last 14 years. You have to, and then I restructured it and took him on in court. And nobody thought I would beat him. And I went and found Rick Joyce, and we beat him. I was just a moron and didn't really know the value. It's funny, after I sold the company to the Germans, I sold my assets, actually. I get in touch, Twilio gets in touch with me and tells me, well, we want to buy it. I'm like, well, you can't. You got to go to Germany. They flew to Germany, Twilio, put a deal on the table for the Germans that would have been worth $800 million. Thorsten turned it down. Now you could buy Thorsten for the amount of money that Jeff Lawson spends on his hair products. Right?
See, this is what I mean. That is fucking funny. That is fucking funny.
You laugh.
It just is.
But we have 20,000. But there's 20,000 other people that laugh at us. Just the ones that don't laugh at us are the ones that don't like us, which are the kind of the criminals and the shady bastards that are running around. So we just call stuff out for what it is. Number one, we don't care. Number two, everybody's a bitch. Nobody's really dangerous. Oh, they're dangerous. No, they're not. They're SMS people. What dangerous? So they may pay some people off in different countries as they make them dangerous. They may run artificially inflated traffic and enjoy when people get spammed. But that doesn't make him dangerous. Although Thorsten Trapp is legitimately dangerous. And I'll get to a story about him later. But yeah, look, Cineverse is really good people. John Wick, we fought toe to toe. We're still friends to this day, although he hides from me now. We've been friendly. I tried to sell him Tintech again a couple of years ago. I did a podcast.
If I was on your wrong side, I would be hiding too. That is not, like, let's be honest here.
No, listen, there's no wrong side. It's not my wrong side. It's the song of right. And quite frankly, nobody scares nobody scares you. Okay, at the end of the day, and you know that. So, but back into what you're going with CRM, because you really got out, because there's I think it's $110 billion in market cap has been lost between Twilio, Cinch, Bandwidth, Ring Central, Blink. You could throw in the CMs, you could throw in a few smaller ones. It's over $110 billion in market cap that has been wiped out to Wall Street. So Wall Street is completely dead on the word CPAS. Gone. There's no more money. Alan knows it was sponsorship. The other organization know it was sponsorship. So it's amazing how you got out right in time. And on our last podcast, you talked about the transition that you made a couple of years ago. When did you see that coming? Because the stock prices were still up. When did you see that this was going to be a disaster? It's a disaster.
I mean, it's a few different things. Like, so just like first principles on the whole topic. Like, is the world still today what it was in the past, or is it not? And I think that world change started way before stock prices were sky high. And there were many different indicators. Fraud accelerated, whether it was AIT or any type of fraud. But fraud is really bad for an industry because essentially, ultimately, as a provider, you can't really do anything. So you have the problem you have is that brands want the cheapest price. So they're at some level responsible for it. You have the carriers who want the highest price. So most carriers started an end of life strategy. 2-3 years. I started in 2011. So 2-3 years in, we were already sort of seeing the first signs of that. And then a lot of fraud. So you have carriers raising price. SMS price has gone like this. You have brands who want SMS price to go like that. And so you're basically, and fraud is also going like this. So it just became an industry that wasn't as much fun as it used to be.
Yeah.
I think secondly, telecom people got a little lazy. I used to joke to people and people said, like, what kind of industry are you in? And like, is it fun? It sounds so boring because it's all technical and blah, blah. I was like, well, the thing you got to understand about the telecoms industry is that every conference, people are quite fun. Like, people like to have a beer, have a drink, talk to each other, do business. It's actually quite a fun industry to sort of be in. The other thing I always said is, and if you look at everybody's shoes, you'll notice that people are making money in this industry. And it doesn't matter whether you work at a carrier or anywhere else, because everybody's sort of like dressed nicely or has nice shoes, or, people are not cheap. The best were the really big companies where they had all these expense accounts so you could drink for free. That was kind of like was my first. People wonder how I bootstrapped the company. Well, I drank a lot on other people's bills. So I think for us, and then it was ultimately customer behavior. So customers were starting to ask for different kind of solutions, and whether that was multiple channels or whether that was more. So there was like so in like the 2FA sort of critical notifications industry, you saw customers who really wanted to move to multiple types of channels. And we started in 2016 already with this, with a omni-channel API, way before the industry sort of caught in conversations API. Fun fact, almost everybody copied our name and our code, which is fine. They can do whatever they want. We'll talk about patents later, but they can do whatever they want. But it's quite complex because every single channel has their own way of sort of doing things. And then obviously from a brand perspective, you're abstracting away all that complexity. So you don't really want to make all of these decisions. So we saw that trend, and then we saw a software trend, which goes beyond the telecom industry, which is just that APIs are becoming less important.
Yeah.
So 2010 to 2020, everybody was API this, API that. You saw all the companies go like this. And I think what people are finding out is that most businesses need to focus on their core business. And their ability to build on top of all these APIs was very cool and selling to all the developers. But at the end of the day, this is not really what a brand wants, because a brand needs to focus on their core. And so they need an abstraction layer, which is the application, or what we now call CRM.
Yeah.
The other last thing that I would say is, and this has sort of been like a thing that's been, if you look at the TAM of our industry, it's because it's so aggregation led, everybody has their own little trick or firewall or like sort of thing. That message just goes around.
Yeah.
So if you accumulate the revenue of all the companies, what people aren't realizing is that in effect, the actual originating revenue from a brand is actually much less than what it is. And it's painful. Like I started in 2011, I recreated a mobile core. I have every SCCP provider. We have mobile network codes. We have our own MNCs in multiple countries. Like I love this industry. I can go deep on telco talk all day long. So I love it. But at the end of the day, my job is not to just love my industry. My job is to work for customers. They pay me. Yeah. So, so that was the other trend that I sort of saw, that like people were just not, the industry wasn't as big. So if you want to build a company that truly is global and that truly sort of innovates and wants to compete with the great at one level, which is still our company's ambition, then there was just no way we could stay in SMS forever. And I never wanted to get to the firewall industry. I think that is all the firewall people should be.
It's not firewall, it's money laundering.
Yes, fill in the blank. So like, it's just, it's one of those things. Does it make money? Yes, it does. And I've had multiple people on my team who forever were like, why are we not doing this? Because if we would do this, we would do such a good job and we could do it like, legitimately. But I never wanted to get into that industry because it's the biggest corruption in the world.
Correct.
You basically get a carrier, who with relatively good intentions just say, I want you to block my network because, I'm getting all these free messaging in from all these brands and I want you to block them. Then almost all provided a few legitimate ones, but almost everybody that went into that industry were also the dodgy ones in the industry who went to brands and they just said, oh, we'll pay you $1 million up front. Or we'll do this or we'll do that. And the carriers just went, oh yeah, thank you. So thank you for doing it. The second they did that, the price of SMS went from, and what they often did is they often locked in the price with the carrier. So they said, your weighted average price is, I don't know, 1 cent, 2 cents, 3 cents, 4 cents, anything else. Yep. And they would charge folks like us 12 cents for that brand. And at the same time, they would look inside the traffic and then go, oh, this brand and this brand and this brand. That sounds interesting. How about I go directly to the brand and I tell them, you're using, Bird or any other provider, but actually you should be using us because they're using us. So it just creates, and that was a whole trend. And then brands realized that didn't work. And they went back to, because they didn't want it. First, they thought, oh, we'll manage 20 providers or 100. And then they were like, okay, we really don't want to do that. And then they sort of went back to the industry. So all these things together just, made us drop pricing to zero in the SMS space. It made us, be honest about what our space is actually about.
They enabled you to make the turn. So the corruption in the industry, where it was going, and the death enabled you to shift your business. So you should be thankful for those criminals and short-minded, short-sighted thinkers. I mean, look, Twilio prepays over at least of 100 million, I know, a year more on operators' deposits in different countries, and then they bury it in their cogs. And we can get into Twilio later. So I'm just not a fan.
We never, just for what it's worth, also on the record, we've never prepaid for anything. It's just, and actually not as much from like I don't actually have an issue with.
No, my point being is they're funding the corruption of the gateway deals. They just funded Tintec, right, for AT&T Mexico. They fund other operators. They put the money up front. How do I know? I was involved in selling Tintec for 3.5 years. I've talked to all the providers. I watched Cinch not meet their numbers in Pakistan and had to give the money back. I've learned the whole business because I've been stuck with these Germans, which I had no interest in being in this industry. I mean, when I sold my assets to Germans, I went and played golf for 3 years, every single day. And then it came time for them to pay me more money. And then all of a sudden I got involved in, well, we're going to, and then they lost this university. They didn't listen to me. It got killed over there. But Thorsten didn't really care because Thorsten's the only guy in the industry that doesn't care about making money. That's why he's the smartest guy in the industry. Thorsten just wants to build his company, and then it get buried in sand over centuries, and then he can come out. He could be like King Thorsten Tut II, and he'll be like a pharaoh, where people can come and see all his patents on the wall in 3,000 years from now, because he's insane. But that's why he's smarter than everybody, because he doesn't care about money. And he's not answering to investors like you're answering to investors. He's not answering to customers like you're answering. He's not actually building a business. I met with him a few months ago, and all he said was, well, Johnny, here, I'll give you $3.5 million. And then I'm going to buy out Scipio for $1 in 3 years, but you're going to pay me $7 million if you talk. And here's a new agreement. And if you don't sign this, I'm going to cancel your agreement. I'm like, first of all, you still can't cancel agreements. You owe me millions and millions of dollars, you lunatic. But that's when it really hit me. Like, he just doesn't care. I mean, he blew deals with Soprano, Cinch, GMS 14 months. Although I don't think GMS was so much of his fault until the end, because Yuri spent about 14 months combing his hair to each side of his head, deciding whether or not he wanted to buy it, because we had such a dysfunctional situation with Scipio and them. He didn't know. And look, we tried to sell Tintec to GMS. We were willing to take stock from GMS, although I got some cash, and they were getting bombed because all their employees are in Kiev. That's how bad we wanted to get away from him. And he bait and switched them, pulled their pants down, made Yuri spend all kinds of money on due diligence and give you this report and whatever it may be, and ended up falling through. But at the end of the show, I want to try to sell you Tintec. Actually, I want to try to give you Tintec. All I want is a pair of clogs, really cool clogs. I know you guys got them clogs over there. And if I can cut that deal with you after the show, but yeah.
I mean, Tintec's a partner of ours, so let me say that I'm biased in saying this. I'll be honest.
Well, then I'm going to tell you right now, they're a partner of yours because they have to be.
But I'll say something on it. It's funny because
stop right there. Why don't you buy them?
I'm gonna get there. I'll get there. We looked at them, but
please,
like, it's
you didn't look at them. You didn't look at them when we were running a process. You looked at them with Nicola and Thorsten, where they were giving you smoke and mirrors. You were not involved in the process.
I know the CEO of. Anyways, it's just I can't talk about that. I'm under confidentiality. But like,
okay,
it's the problem. I mean, when I say I looked at them, anyways, let me not even get into it. But like, we didn't get very far. Let's put it that way, because we backed out very quickly. And I had like one of the worst calls in my life with somebody at that team that I was like, I don't even want to go into a process with you. I won't say who it is, but I was literally came out of that call. I remember calling my team and I was like, who is this person? Why? Anyways, I think this is, you know, what's kind of funny.
His name is Copsy.
No, it wasn't that. But like, it's, you know what, when I started Bird, and we started as Mobile Tulip, which was kind of our first name. We went from Mobile Tulip to Message Bird. Tintec was like the golden company. Yep. This was the company that had it all figured out. It was super hard to get a connection to them.
That's when I got suckered in.
They had all the nice deals. They had all these things. I think what happened is, and you see that a lot in this industry, and like, look, after I came on your podcast and we lowered price, and you know, you saw the whole battle with one of our competitors.
Yeah.
You know, they went. I mean, it's wild, right? Like they went and accused us of fraud. I was like, this is like the craziest thing in the world.
Well,
I mean,
that's the number one thing. And when it comes to America, that's what people do.
And they backed out, and I mean, they backed down out of it very quickly because they were like, probably not worth fighting with us. But like, it's and imagine, I know all these people, right? It's like I've been to drinks with, like, we all know each other from a very, very long time. And like, the problem is, it's really hard to disrupt your own business.
Yeah.
That's just a hard thing to do, because you have to disbelief your own beliefs. And when you love something, and I say that with love, and I actually say that with love to Tintec, to Cinch, to all of these people. These are all people that I know well, and they're all people that I know truly love their product. Some might be smarter in business, some might be this, some might be good looking or bad looking. But like, at the end of the day, these people do truly love the technology because SMS has something magical. It's something magic about like doing an API call and like receiving that message on your phone. It always had that magic, and it sort of always will. And if you get into like the weeds of like routing and all the complexity, you know, it's comparable to like option trading where like you're doing spot pricing and all that sort of stuff to actually get to a price point that a brand really wants to have. I think the problem they all had is that they didn't want to disrupt their own industry. They were too in love with their own story. And that killed them because the industry moved on. It just is what is. Like, I love my industry. I would love to spend, and when I talk to my team on the carrier side who still reports to me, is like, I love to getting into the weeds. I can get weeks distracted of my business and just get into the weeds of like what's going on. But like at the end of the day, it will die a slow death, and it won't die. Like fax is still around too. It's like
it's always going to be around, but it's dead as far as Wall Street is concerned. And I don't think you understand.
There's no growth.
But everybody who cashed in, I mean, look at the people who cashed in, who cashed out, right? You cashed into your own company, right? So you have a long lasting tail. You re-engineered your company. You've taken, you know, about $1 billion+ into the company, and you've got partners that believe in you, right? Other companies have all cashed out. I mean, I'd love to explain to you how Twilio was a $70 billion Ponzi scheme. They never said they were a CPaaS company. All they said on Wall Street with Jim Craner is, we're a SaaS company. We're a SaaS company. All they ever said. And people, I live right here in New York, made more money when it was going down than it went up.
Yeah.
Because they shorted that thing from $4.50 to $40 a share.
Twilio,
because there's nothing there.
But Twilio had the, like, if you think about also the differences of how we started our company, right? Like Jeff started a little bit earlier than us with voice, but like we roughly started at the same time on SMS. Like the difference was that like I'm a Dutch entrepreneur from Netherlands, which has 17 million people, right? Yep. So if we were going to go global, or if we were going to make any money, the only way to do that was to go global. The second thing is that, you know, Europe is very fragmented, APAC is very fragmented. So we had to build an abstraction layer across all of that fragmentation from day one. And the third thing is that SMS was a low margin business when I started it. So like when I started, I was late, right? 2011 is late. You know, if you go back 10 years, you had all the gray routes and all the free stuff and all that stuff before that as well.
Invented SS7, but that's another conversation.
Yeah. You just didn't have the app. So you didn't have as big as a market, but you kind of had, and you had that whole wave before of like SAP buying Mobile 365 and like, you know, so you had a whole wave before sort of me, Christian, I hate that I now blank on his name. Now he will hate me even more. The three founders of Cinch. Robert, how can I? This is hilarious. How can I forget Robert? He has the same name.
He's a finalist in the Sexiest Man.
Robert, Christian. You got to add Christian then too. Christian's pretty sexy, but like, you know, it's we all start sort of at the same time, but that was already past. There was already sort of past that wave of what people were doing. But Twilio, on the flip side, they had the benefit of back then just utilizing P2P routes, peer-to-peer, basically consumer messaging versus A2P, which is application messages, which is the kind of an industry that we're in. So they had the benefit of being able to utilize P2P for A2P, which was the same in Europe and APAC 10 years before I started the business, but that had moved on to different platforms and separation of basically A19 and all the routes there. So that was their benefit. The reason that they were able to do that, because they were able to pay nothing or even receive money, because the way that it sort of worked is that you had the carriers outsourced their hubs. You had 3 different hubs that carried most of it. You had a few more, but that carried most of the traffic. And essentially what would happen is the hubs would pay people to connect to them versus charging a fee, because they were a third-party hub, they were able to get money from the carrier. So this all started with essentially companies like Twilio being paid to send messages and charging their customers, you know, 008 to 09, whatever it was, per message, which by the way was still significantly cheaper than Europe, but like free is free. And then I think what turned for them, and they were sort of double unlucky, One, markets turned. It wasn't just Twilio. I mean, they were worth 70 billion. So were many other companies were worth a gazillion dollars in that time frame. So they had that downside, and the carriers finally got smart and were like, hey, why are we not getting any of this rev share of this message from this brand? And they started charging too. And those two things killed the business model.
But that only started in 2020. The carriers created the campaign registry, and you should go read Allen's Messaging Monopolies report. They started the campaign registry under the guidelines of wanting to stop spam, but what they enabled is now the ability to charge a half a penny and up to a penny per message through this bullshit registration process through an entity called the campaign registry. So that didn't really start till a couple of years ago. My angle is, all of these guys in messaging, anybody's already made their money. You've either made your money and you're sitting on a beach like the guys at Cinch, and they have 900 million outstanding shares. You want to know why their stock can never go up? Not because of you or Twilio or anybody else, because there's a billion shares. It's like a penny stock, right? So I study the markets, I watch the markets, and that's what I play, and that's what I watch. You can't buy Cinch because there's too many shares. It's like Wolf of Wall Street bullshit. It can't go up, right? Why is Twilio doing? Twilio did $1.2 billion in buybacks in Q2 and this year alone. And they did it because the activist investors are trying to inflate it. It didn't even work.
Yeah.
If they didn't do the buybacks, their stock would be 35 right now, right? So what I'm saying to you is, you got out, right? There's winners and there's losers. And, the Cinch guys, they worked very closely with Thorsten. I remember when Mito started giving them all kinds of problems. And this is when I first did a deal with Thorsten, and they literally set me to go torture this kid. So I met this kid, Andrea Mito, and I guess they thought I was a thug because I kind of talk like one, but I'm anti-violence. I would rather sue you for 100 years and torture you in business than I can't even watch UFC fighting because to me it's inhuman. I went to go meet this kid, and they were so angry with this guy on what he did, what he was doing to them. But it was just trivial bullshit. So they had their little cabal going, those guys. But Cinch cashed out. Jeff Lawson bought the onion. He cashed out. You cashed in. For Cinch, they're trying to do an IPO. I mean, for Infobip, they're trying to do an IPO right now because they got $800 million from JP Morgan sub One Equity. They're forced. It's the only way they're getting their money. But I think the point of my first question is, you answered it when you saw this coming, and now you're heading to the big leagues, and you're really going to the big leagues. You're talking about Salesforces. You're talking about Cisco's now merging. And by the way, they all have directs, by the way. Infobip's got directs right now, right? Cisco's got directs. I mean, and I know you're working through Cineverse, but you don't view that because you're giving it away. I'm just trying to understand on your angle on what you're doing. I guess it's kind of too early for me to ask you that question, but one more thing before we go. When you decided to leave the Netherlands, it was a big deal, right? It was a big deal in your country, right? And your brand is huge over there. And then I see you on X, and I'm saying to myself, and I listen to you talk, because you separate your own identity from your country, your company. A lot of people do that, and smart entrepreneurs, smart CEOs. I'm a fan of real leaders like you are. When are you going to start building your brand in the U.S.? Like really building it, because they're gonna love you over here, because you're never going to make money in Europe.
I mean, I thank you for all the compliments, but I have so much to say about this. Okay, let me go back one, if you don't mind. Let me go back on one.
Go back, baby. Well, they got all day.
Make your podcast longer. I think that, look, whether it's campaign registry or what is that Mobile Economic Forum, MEF? And
no, MEF was a porn site, right? Where the guys got together. Alan writes a story about them. MEF was started a long time ago, but Gershman got involved with MEF to stop Mito and those guys. They didn't know what to do, so they started.
Mito was on the board.
No, Gershman's the chairman of MEF. All right, Mito's now involved. They let Mito in. And look, I know Andrea. I went to go play golf with this kid. I played 4 days of golf with this guy, Andrea. I didn't know him, but I knew him from the voice days because I come from voice. He used to be a call trade. So a buddy of mine said, look, this guy Andre is a good guy. He's just a hustler. And he just out hustled the shit out of those guys and created a business. However anybody wants to look at it, he's just making money. He'll never be sold. He'll never go public. He's just making money. But meth is just an organized crime family where you pay and you get your messages across. That's all it is. And look, it's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a catering hall where you go to and you pay the catering guy to get a voice.
But this is my point. But this is my point. So we've never been a member of all these bullshit organizations.
Which is why we love you.
We had this whole time period when like they forced carriers that if you wanted to send across a brand, like it was crazy. You would there was like we were asked to be founding member of MEF, we denied. And like and nobody could ever explain to me what their sole purpose was. Combat fraud. I was like, yeah, but the fraudsters are on your board. So like that's kind of crazy.
They are the fraud.
Like so we never we never participated, but there was this time and it worked out because I don't know if they're still relevant, but like at the time, 5 years ago, this was wild. You could not get a carrier connection without being a member of MEF. And like, we had to fight hard in order to basically be like, hey, hold on. I'm a member of GSMA.
I didn't know this. This is pretty bad.
Oh,
but that's what they did. That's what the guys at Cinch did. The guys at Cinch are smart. These boys are smart. They cashed out. They made their money. They kicked money back to SoftBank and said, here, sorry, we robbed you. Here, take your money back. And now they got a $2 billion company. They did what they did, but MEF is still the same way. I mean, they did a hit piece on my CEO, who was the former chief counsel, head of cybersecurity for the United States Coast Guard. You don't get a higher security clearance. And they hired this fat misfit from Comms Risk, who they just hired back to write a hit piece on this guy. I mean, this is the kind of trivial stuff. We loved it. I don't know if you saw the czar. They picketed his event because they wouldn't let a woman on the board. There's a lot of stuff that you need to know. But I think I want to see you succeed. And I want to understand how you're going to navigate in the U.S. and also build a brand. I think if you can build your brand, because there's nobody who's got a brand in the industry. Jeff Lawson went on TV and lied. Oh, I love you. I'm going to give money to the homeless. I do this. Well, as he was robbing the shit out of you, never talking about how he was ever going to make money for his shareholders or how his company was ever going to be profitable. So I view you as a breath of fresh air. And look, I just want to buy in on the IPO. To be honest with you, I think you have to be doing an IPO at some point. And you can't tell me you're going to do this in Europe. You just can't.
I mean, we will never IPO in Europe. But like,
okay. It made my day.
So, and that will never happen. But like, for many, I mean, by the way, look at all the, I don't know if you follow me next, you see the crazy shit going on right now where like they're arresting founders of platforms. I mean, look, yep. We don't know exactly why he was arrested. So let's start there. Pavel, the founder of Telegram.
Yeah.
So provided that the information that we do know is true, this is the most,
because he wouldn't play ball. Look,
this is the most wild
we over
thing
here
ever.
in the U.S. know why he was arrested. You either play ball. Look, Google just made an assassination attempt disappear on their search and said, "Yeah, we messed up." So look, it's just the world we live in, Robert. But you're still safe over here. No matter how crazy people think it is, right or left, it's all the same. They all end up working it out together in the U.S. But that guy's got a problem. He's screwed.
Yeah, he does have. It seems like he has a real.
Well, he just hired Quinn Emanuel, the lawyer who just got off. He was Elon's lawyer. He was also Alec Baldwin's lawyer, the guy that shot the guy in the movie set.
Mm-hmm.
They hired his name is Alex. I forget his name is, but Quinn Emanuel, one of my attorneys. His wife is a partner there. I mean, he's going to fight this thing all the way through, but he's going to have to play ball, Robert. It's very simple. Yeah.
But it's crazy. It's great. It's like the most wild things are happening at the moment. So like on your point on the United States and on your point on the future of the company. I mean, this is a long haul game. Yeah. I think the problem that people have in this industry is that they're too short-minded and they're too focused on money and not focused on creating value for customers.
Yeah.
And telecoms allowed that because there's a significant amount of money, whether you're on, let's say, if you divide the industry into like sort of like three buckets, you have like the red bucket, which are all the fraudsters and all those guys. And then you have sort of like the gray line bucket that are like kind of ish, kind of not, like, just depends whether it's Monday or Tuesday. And then you have the sort of like people that are trying to stay on the right side of the line.
Mhm.
I think between all of them, the problem is 90% of the industry is between red and gray. And there's only maybe even 95 or 99. So there's only very few people that are trying to sort of like stay there. And if you want to be on that side, then you need then this is a long haul game, because what you're actually breaking through is interconnectedness of like so many different legacy agreements and industries and people that
which
have
is the
deals with
reason
each
why
other.
you should just take Tintec. Because I tell you why. Because you could buy it, you can get it for a price that you would shock.
But there's nothing that Tintec has that I want.
I think they have a connectivity platform.
We have more
They have
connections.
agreement.
I have more connections than Tintec. I have a better platform than Tintec.
You definitely don't have a better platform than them. You know, not on messaging connectivity. It's not even close.
Sorry.
Look, I'm
respectfully,
I can't stand the guy. Look,
no, but technology is moved.
He's got Germans 24 hours, 7, humping his own network. He humps it himself.
But he doesn't make. But if it was so great, it would make more money.
Yes.
No, it doesn't make more money because he doesn't want to make more money. All he wants to do, to him, it's a shrine to himself. He doesn't care. He's not interested in building a company.
I think no, but I look. I'll be honest before they hate me. But like, I'm also serious. I think I'm not. What I'm not saying, I don't think Tintec is interesting for us because honestly, like with due respect to Tintec, I think I have a better platform. But like, and I have more connectivity than Tintec, etc. That said, Tintec has unique assets that are uniquely positioned for the markets. That's why we're a customer, they're a customer, etc., etc. So there's nothing wrong with Tintec. I think they're a great company.
No, there's a lot wrong with Tintec. I'm just trying to sell it to you because you're my last chance. I tried to sell it to everybody.
I'm not a buyer. The other thing is like it's just like what these days. I mean, they could give it to me for free. That's fine. But like I'd be happy. I know I'm serious. Like I'm happy to take.
You didn't hear my conversation. We were willing to take stock in a company that was getting bombed.
No, I said free. I said free, not stock.
Free.
I'm not giving you stock either.
No, stock is
I'll
paper.
Give them a rev share.
You can give stock. Paper. You can give stock. Look, Tintec has got value to it. There's definitely value to it.
$600 million in cash for SparkPost because I didn't want to give away any stock.
Yeah,
I don't give. I'm not a stock giver. That's why I still control the company. That's why I still. So like,
fair enough.
But I think Tintec has unique assets. I think a good buyer for a company like Tintec, and by the way, many messaging companies out there.
No, there's going to be no buyer because there's going to be litigation coming out, and anybody that's doing business with them that is a partner to them, I'm going after them too. They owe me $90 million. Point blank.
Oh, you?
Point blank. Point blank.
I was just going to say that first you try to sell me something, and then you're going to sue me.
You were my last chance. You were my last chance to sell it. So at the end of the day, me and Thorsten are not going to get along. I'm not going to make a deal with him. I would rather burn the money that he's trying to offer me, which is pennies, compared to what he owes me. I saved him and his little sidekick there. They basically were fired from their company. I enabled them to do a management buyout. I gave these guys everything, and then they screwed me. So this is personal. And Scipio Partners, the fund that owes them, they're also run a company called Wire, which competes with Telegram. So they're a PE group out of Germany that I hate more than I can. I don't hate Dorsey because I understand the animal, right? He's just a disgusting lunatic, and he's not a good guy. But the guys at Scipio Partners are the most treacherous PE group, and PEs, right? These guys threw out Alan Durick of Wire. So, I was gonna do a post on them and start going after them. Hey, why don't you tell us what happened? What you did with the guy from Telegram, Scipio? Because they play that game too. Because they're a competitor of Telegram, but they're a competitor of Telegram on a corporate level with governments, which is kind of amazing how a private equity group treacherous Scipio Partners. So Scipio Partners is in there. We're going to start suing. I'm going to file a RICO suit on them, and I'm calling it out right here. And RICO is a bad word, right? RICO, you know what RICO means? RICO? That's not good. It was developed for organized crime. They're organized crime.
I used to watch Miami Vice, so I know all about it.
Okay, so look, I don't really care anymore. You were their last chance, to be honest with you. We're going to hit the mat. I don't care. Thorsten just tried to have me arrested in Germany. He said he's got a judgment to put me in jail in Germany for a LinkedIn post. So this is how much of a lunatic he is. And then he had a lawyer.
but these people, but like you know what I think? You know what I think? Honestly, I think like the problem is that even with this is my honest. You're gonna get my Dutch bluntness now.
I always
With like
Go for it.
with even with the best intentions, I'm gonna assume best intentions. I hear everything that you're saying. I'm gonna assume that people are reasonable people, and whatever agreement they made with you, that they have some dignity to do that. I think the problem now is whatever the past is. There just is. It's one of those things. There just isn't. There isn't a world where it's. There's also no like. The problem about M&A also right now is that like there's no like why if you're somebody crazy like me that's saying the whole industry's dead, right? You basically get like
the CEO from Vox Solutions called me. By the way, had an hour conversation with that guy. He's really smart. He kind of pinned the whole AIT on the aggregators and enterprise, large enterprise, which is really an interesting conversation. You should have a conversation with that guy. He's smarter than people think. This is the CEO of Vox, but look, you're right.
But he's right.
It's over.
Yeah, but he's right. Of course, everybody knows this. Robotic accounts creation. Okay, so AIT explained. Yeah, in like a heartbeat. It's very simple. It's basically robotic account creation on big brands generates SMS traffic. The SMS traffic somewhere in the chain, in the value chain, gets a kickback from a carrier. There is no way that it otherwise works, right? Because at some point, like these people are not doing it for fun. So like, you know, there's money to be made. So the only way this works is that at the end you have a carrier. The carrier has to give some sort of rev share on that messaging. And if you generate enough robotic accounts, then essentially you will make you will make money. And there's almost no way to stop it because there's like we like so it's like you kind of can't get out of it. What it will do is, and this is what they don't understand. I mean, they don't give a fuck because they're the ones they're making all the money at the moment.
No.
But like what people don't understand is that what they're really doing is killing the industry, because it's like, this is why if people think legitimate companies are in this space, like there's no benefit to a company like ours or Cinch or any of the legitimate Twilio or like any of these platforms have no benefit to this, because essentially the more that this happens, the more distrust there comes to SMS. And you already have the whole thing on SMS where you like, you can spoof you can basically intercept the message if you're close enough to the poll and like do that. So it always had that negative thought already, but the benefit of it was that it was fast and it always worked. So people misunderstand. They go, "Oh, SMS is so unsafe. It's so unsafe." But if you know anything about security is not about risk exclusion. It's about risk management, because nothing is 100% secure. WhatsApp isn't like, so like.
Look, there's products. There are products that are coming out on the identity side that would make the whole industry
Please don't start
cleaner.
talking about. Please don't start talking to me about this one company.
No, it's not a company. It's not a company you don't even know about.
I love him to.
There's a company you don't know about, and I'll tell you offline, that just is doing a huge raise, and they've got identity down to the SIM level to where, because some companies, look, for the mobile phone, if you're using a mobile phone, they have no way of knowing if you have a signal or not. If you think you have 3 bars and they know what 3 bars is, it means nothing, because they don't test networks down to the handset. This company's been reverse engineering it down to the handset and has been testing with 4 of the 5 biggest operators in the world. 4 to 5 biggest mobile operators in the world are launching with this. I'll tell you.
Will you hate me if I'm critical? Will you hate me if I'm critical?
No, I don't care, because that doesn't matter to me, because I don't own the stock. I don't.
Okay, so this is my view on all these companies. It's like I've heard 1,000 companies come up with 1,000 different ways to do this. The problem is it's not about the solution. That's not irrelevant. Brands don't give a fuck. You're going to get completely different technologies.
We're talking about the banks. The banks care.
But they don't. But not really, because the banks
we have
really
litigation. There are hearings going on right now. Australia's trying to say the banks don't owe the money. They're trying to screw people out of $2.8 billion. In the U.S., there's legislation right now that's coming on, and they're going to tell the banks.
Solutions.
But
it will move on from telco.
The banks are going to be liable, and if the banks are liable for the tens of billions, you're going to see solutions.
Yes, but not on a telco level. And the
On a
reason
what?
is because
No,
not on a telco
telco
level.
level is just one level, one aspect of it. It's just SIM swap. That's all it is. It solves SIM swap. It solves the ability to know if that's actually you on the handset that did the transaction. It's just one
But
layer.
RCS solves that problem. WhatsApp solves that problem. Passkey solves that problem.
Not entirely. And one more question on you, because look, you're a lot smarter than me. You know this. I know this business by accident. So let me ask you a question. How do you see RCS and Google and Apple and coming in between the US with the campaign registry? So right now you're in the US. You want to get a campaign. You got to register with the campaign registry. What happens? Because when I tried to buy the campaign
There is no
registry,
campaign. There is no campaign
I'm
registry
just saying,
anymore.
I tried to buy the campaign registry, right? And I don't know if you know this. I put public. We did press releases. We went after those criminals in Calera in Italy. They got away with robbing millions. Doesn't matter. Now, bottom line is, I met a senior guy executive. He wanted to join our board because he told me Google was going to buy it the minute they merge and do this thing with Apple. So Apple and RCS and Apple come together. Where do you see the campaign registry? Why do you need it?
You don't.
Exactly. Heck, you don't need
There
it.
is no
They're trying to sell it right now for $200+ million.
Oh no!
Right
oh no!
now.
The industry will move. This is what's going to happen. One day, they're all going to wake up, like get their sleep out of their eyes. It could be like this, and be like, holy fucking shit, what happened? And the industry will have moved from left to right overnight.
Yeah.
Yep.
There is no need. There's no need. There's no need for hubs. There's no need for SMS. There's no need for these things aren't necessary anymore. If you are a pre-approved or approved brand by Apple or by Google or by the carrier, and they will probably do like if you're they're bypassing all this technology. I mean, in fairness to Google, and I've been one of the biggest critical people on RCS. They all hated me for a long time because I never wanted to invest in it, even though we had all this omni-channel stuff. But I will give it to them. And my reason was actually very simple. It's not that I didn't believe in the tech. The tech was always really good, but you need distribution in order to make the tech work. So I didn't believe in the distribution, and without the distribution, you're not able to make the tech work. With the interoperability with Apple, you now have distribution. So all the carriers are playing ball. Every single one of them in the most difficult. I mean, us and I'll give you an example. Us and Cinch are the only two companies in the world that are directly connected to all the Singaporean carriers. And you might think, why is Singapore so important? Well, people don't know is that Singapore has the highest amount of messages per person in the world. So it has actually very low penetration in terms of amounts of people, but it has extremely high amount of messages. So it's not actually a small country that people think.
No,
and
it's a very important country altogether with money between China and the U.S.
But let Robert finish. Let Robert finish.
So what you're now getting is that all the carriers are going to play ball, and you see it in Europe, you see it in Asia, you see it in the United States. It'll take a little bit of while because RCS will only work on latest phones and updated, etc. But at the end of the day, like it's a sliding scale, right? Like every month, every quarter, it will just go up and up and up and up, and the industry will move. And the interesting thing is, if you go back to our pricing strategy, this is why we're giving it away for free, because there is no more money. The money is gone. What's going to happen is that carriers, why do you need me? You need me as an abstraction layer across many different channels. That's what an aggregator would say. Yeah. So first you need an abstraction layer across all the carriers around the world. Well, that industry's gone because now you can just have one connection to Google and like you're done. So that's the sort of industry too. Then you have, but now you have multiple channels, just through passkeys, WhatsApp, other channels. Yeah. Great. But that's not really a high margin business, right? Because like now, again, you're in like a compressing margin business in order to do this. So this business doesn't exist and people will not realize it. It just doesn't exist. So what we did is we moved on to the application side with all the experience that we have, because I do think that like being in this industry and understanding all the channels and all the complexity and all the different, like if a file has to be compressed on this channel to this file size, but on that one, and there's so if you're a brand, you care about that stuff a lot, and security and all that sort of stuff. So, but it's about what you do with the channel. That's where the value is. It's where the value for us as a company is, the value for the brand is. The value downstream in all of these like different connections, that was really great business, and I still love it to death. And I don't want the industry to die, but it will die There is no industry left, and people need to start realizing this,
Yeah.
that there is no industry left. And whatever, like all these other companies
Well,
are selling you if you're a
Wall
brand.
Street's realized that already. They're done.
Well,
They're
Wall
toast.
Street, of course, but this is because every industry analyst, like, also, like, I don't get a lot of views, but every industry analyst at least reads what I say, and like but it's also logical.
They don't need
because-
it enough, because if they actually heard you and understood you, the big play here and the podcast should read short everybody, which is what I did 9 months ago. And I had an industry analyst going all day long.
On a
Well,
free
what do you
cash
think?
flow.
What do I think? It's all short.
On a-
Big short.
I'd still be careful about that. Like on a free cash flow basis, I would say that where they're valued right now, I don't think is crazy. Like they're not crazy overvalued, because it's the value right
it's
now.
not
I
about
think is
being
actually.
overvalued. You have cash in the bank. It's where they're going. So you took a look.
Oh yeah.
Where
If you take a 5 year, if you take a long term short,
it's a 3 year short.
take a long term short.
Is what I'm
Sure.
saying. And they got a CFO in there right now who is a bean counter, who spent years working with Jeff Imlet, who destroyed our greatest company
I
we
do
had
not
in
give-
America, GI. What?
I'm on the record. I do not give investment advice. Before we get every, I am not an investment advisor.
I'm not an investment advisor either, but look, the writing's on the wall. The whole industry is a short. So you're saying you and Cinch see this coming. What is Cinch going to do? I can't. Bad question. So,
I hope they one day. I mean, I definitely hope one day. I hope one day when you log into, if I was a Cinch customer and I had to go to that login screen and see 30 different brands to choose from to log in for, because nobody ever like brought all the platforms together, I would just be like, maybe they should focus there first. Sorry, I don't mean to jab. I don't mean to jab them. But like,
look, they don't care. They made their money. You have to understand something. These guys made their money. They hired.
I think what's going to happen, which is not something that I would like, but I think this is what's going to happen. My prediction would be, at some point, these companies are going to consolidate, and it won't be us. I will guarantee you that. I will go on the record and say I'm not buying any of them. I'm definitely not consolidating with them. I mean, I don't have the money. I'm never giving them any of my share. Like, this will never happen. But like, so I won't be the one. But I think if you're a large public company or still a private company, I think what will happen is you will consolidate into, and they will create a big group. And there's some anti-competitiveness there. So I think the problem,
You mean the anti-competitors at MEF when they wouldn't let you get agreements? That type of
anti-competitiveness? I mean like actual regulators, not fake ones.
But it's funny how MEF is sitting here telling us what to do in the US. Isn't that amazing? Except they got thrown out of the CTI event. They thought they were the GSMA. And the GSMA spent quite a bit of years.
But the GSMA, but if you talk about two legitimate organizations in the world that we've always been a member of and that I think are very respectful, is GSMA and ITU, right? Numbering organization on the ITU side and the GSMA. These are respectable telecom organizations that understand telco, that don't go with the wave. They're not like there to like do anything. They also make their money, and they charge you a lot, and like it's okay, but they're respectful. They're respectable organizations. Everybody around that.
One more question. So Ericsson just.
This is like these awards. Sorry, one more thing. This is like these awards. This is like these awards. What is it called? Like Rocco Award and this award.
The Rocco
and all this sort of shit.
We're 10-time winners. What do you mean? Don't talk about Rocco.
Yeah, but like, what is this? It's like you pay them, you get an award.
Yeah,
it is what it is. It's like anything else. It's not even pay to play. You need to. People need a place to go. I have a different attitude. I've had this argument with Alan. Some of these organizations are good because you need a place to go. You need a place to communicate. I thought Alan was going to build that at TAD Summit. We're not that. We're more for programmable telecom and geeks and developers. He's got guys with no teeth running around. He's got all these guys, these developer guys. And the truth is, the industry kind of needs a place to go. But really, I mean, our awards are who's the sexiest guy in the industry.
But the industry does come together, right? So think about an example where I would say, so like we all fight each other, and I'm on here talking shit about them, and they'll talk shit about me, and this is all good. But I think what's nice about the industry to also stay on a happy note on this is like, if you think about all the founders, especially the founder-led companies or founder like still involved companies in this space, we all know each other. We all have each other on text. And I will tell you one thing, if there's like a company that like pops up and frauds one of us and like skims a couple $100K or a couple million or whatever,
right away,
we all come together and fight it. No, we don't need an organization that
you just basically explain to everybody
to do this.
It's over. You're the only guy that comes out and tells the truth. Nobody else tells the truth.
But they can't. But this is also okay. But in fairness, that's also very hard for them to do because if you're a public company, what are you going to say? My industry's over, and my stock goes down. Like that's kind of not impossible. And then if you're still have the ambition to go public one day, you have exactly the same problem. So all these people have like all the same problems that they can't be truthful. It's not that I think they fundamentally disagree with me about where the industry is going.
I think they fundamentally are dumb as rocks. I don't think anybody's as smart
They
as you.
are not
I've met all these guys say
They're
dumb as
they're
rocks.
not dumb.
They don't see tomorrow. I don't think they're as smart as you think they are.
Robert,
Look,
Christian,
they weren't as smart.
Silvio.
Oh, Robert, those
Jeff
those
Lawson.
guys are really smart. Look, Jeff Lawson's the smartest guy ever. You know why? Because he pulled off a $60 billion Ponzi scheme. Nobody's smarter than Jeff Lawson. Elon Musk paid $40 billion for Twitter. They say now it's worth 20. Most powerful company for my money anywhere. X. I mean, it's the last platform for free speech, right? You agree? You agree?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
100%.
This guy wiped out $60 billion of people's money, and he's walking around like he didn't rob anybody. It was an inside job on Wall Street. You know what $60 billion is?
No, but hold on. He
knew exactly.
But I don't think
exactly what they had.
But
they
that's
never
not,
said they were a telco. They're nothing but a telco.
But that's not. But I don't think I don't think they robbed anybody. I think what they did is Jeff fundamentally believes. I mean, first of all, everybody's a shrewd businessman or businesswoman,
I've
right?
got guys on the inside.
Like,
Jeff was making money off spam. Jeff was doing everything he could
to
keep running that stuff.
And
so for me, I got no respect. I got no respect. No principles.
The principles of like, I love it. Like when you guys wrote like about like poor grandma, like the principles of allowing that on your platform is wrong. I mean, I can honestly say
not
that
allowing it, encouraging it. It's one thing to not allow it through subs, to not be able to catch it. I used to argue all the time they can't stop it, but it was encouraging, and it's wrong, and it's not going along with any potential solutions. I mean, this whole campaign registry, the reason why it pissed me off is because they all went along with it. They told the FCC, "Oh, we're going to start this thing to stop spam." No, they're all making billions of dollars off scamming. It's never going to end.
But it's a hard problem. But it's a hard problem for them to solve because if you think about I mean, I'll tell you my side of the story about where it's really hard and like a tough founder decision is we stopped automatic onboarding in the United States many years ago. Why did we do that? Because it essentially meant that we would allow fraud because it's like that's what happens if you allow people to use your API and like so all this sort of stuff. That obviously significantly hurt my business because I could have been a much larger business if I did it. So I don't disagree with you because I would just say like I've experienced it myself how tough it is to build a business when your competitor is onboarding customers in the tens and hundreds of thousands. And by that definition, and customers would hate us because they would say, "Oh, but Bert, you're so difficult to work with because we need pre-approval and we need to send all these documents and we need to do all these sort of things." So it's like really hard, but I think Ponzi scheme is too far. It's like Jeff is an amazing. Jeff built. He
didn't create the Ponzi scheme. The Ponzi scheme was created by Wall Street and Jim Cramer, and having Middle America buy this thing, and having pension funds buying it, and the stock going from $450 a share down to zero. This thing was selling like crazy on Wall Street. Not on the technology side, but they never said they were a CPaaS. They said they were a SaaS company. Oh, and the margins are going to come. The minute we're going to grow, and then we're going to.
That was obviously a lie.
And the margin is a lie.
They knew for years.
Listen, you're
going to see for years that the carriers were going to start charging.
You're going to see in a couple of years. Yeah. People have run away. They've covered it up. God bless them. But at the end of the day, it's one of the most amazing genius. Him and Jim Cramer. Jim Cramer's a big name.
I need you to be the voice of reason here.
Well,
I need you to be the voice of reason.
Look, you
no, Colin. Johnny, you're speaking too much. They spent 1.6 billion becoming an aggregator. Okay, that was 2021. So they shifted in 2021 in terms of what their business was. Before then, they were more SaaS-esque, and they kept their arm's length from all these dirty, difficult to deal with carriers. Synthetic identity is something that the whole industry should be managing, but is not. But there's an exception on there. So I think that's important. And I'm just going to, because he's been quiet for a second, you were about to mention some names of aggregators that you think Tintech would be attractive to.
I think if you're not running any type, like I would say this, if you did not build any type of mobile core yourself,
Gotcha.
so you're either licensing it from like still Ericsson or like any provider, then I think Tintech is an amazing buy because it gets you there. Gotcha. I think in terms of carrier connections, they might have a few that are really, really interesting and unique, just like everybody does. But I don't know if that's very, very, very valuable. Yeah, I think if you're us,
but what about the patents? He's got 40 patents. You haven't seen them?
Fuck patents, dude.
Exactly what I keep telling you.
He just patented your shirt.
Patent that gets you done. That's how you don't need patents.
Yeah.
Patents are for the weak. This is such an American I'll tell you a funny story, and I'll say this too. So I never had any patent issues for like a long time. I never filed any patents, and I always had the same view on this. This is all bullshit. Like this is against innovation. It's the opposite of what I believe in. I believe in transparency, freedom of markets, and if you have invested billions of dollars to create something, you should get some protection in order to make that money back and not give it away for free. I believe in that. In technology, you're never spending billions of dollars. You're spending very little money to create something. And for that reason, you should not be held accountable. That's also why they don't hold up in court, right? That's why you don't see any lawsuits in our space, because they don't actually, and if you then want to get into it, then you go to Google, who bought Motorola, who owns every single patent there is in our space. So I think that the patents are just not the way to get there. But I got sued once for patent in a different, not in telco. And I remember speaking to my patent lawyer, and we hired I'm not American, so I didn't know how this all works. So I got told for the first time how patent litigation works. And I realized how fucked up it is, because basically the one suing spends less money than the one defending, which is completely unfair. It's a big difference, about a third more, 3x more. So you spend $1 million, cost the defendant $3 million. So it's really unfair. And I remember sitting in this call with my lawyers and everybody else. I was just like, I'm going to make this really, really simple. Do you know the game of chicken? I want you to play game of chicken, and I'm going to get on the top of the fucking car and say, let's fucking go. And I do not care how much it costs, but there is no way. And because this whole game is about they sue you, then they try to settle with you, then they do this. You should just not allow this shit.
No.
You should just be very simple.
No. Thorsten has patents, so he can paper his wall with it. And then once he gets buried with Tintech in the Tintech tomb in 2,000 years, he comes back as the Pharaoh Thorsten that invented SMS. He invented CPAS. That's what it is for him. He can't sue it. He don't even know what to do. He can't even go look at his patents. I'm going to have Mark Hay go look at his patents. I think Mark put out a design the other day. I think Thorsten tried to patent that too. It's the worthless patents at the end of the day. It's just for him so he can go to Dartmouth University and he can go in there and be the scholar and tell these young kids how he's so smart. First of all, no better talent has come out of anywhere than Tintech. I mean, look at the amount of talent that's come out of that place. So really, it's been Tintech University. Because if you just kept his talent and had a half a brain, all he had to do was buy my company, and there'd be 3 hubs in the USA. But he couldn't buy my company.
People can't be.
One more thing I got to tell you, Mr. Vis, because I don't know when you're going to come back.
But he can't be. But he can't be good at everything.
No. I'm going to tell you one thing. I got to say one thing to you because you're my therapist right now. So Thorsten Trapp could have bought my company. I had auto-renew agreements with Cineverse and SAP for 14 years. That's all I won. All I won is a failure to deals to. It was really simple. They couldn't beat me. The minute I was going to trial, they were screwed. They're like, did you auto-renew these for the last 14 years? Yep, okay. All I needed was a carrier. He basically took those agreements that I had, raised money from Scipio Partners in order to give him more equity and management control of the company. He knew he was going to lose the minute he didn't buy my company. He bought the agreements. And Cineverse was like, sure, we'll transfer him. And then I remember sitting there with John Wick from Cineverse because we're going to torch this guy. I'm like, oh, jeez. And here we go. And we fought, but we were winning in court. But he had no intention because all he cared about, like I said, is becoming a pharaoh. He just wants to be the pharaoh. He wants
Okay,
to,
let's
that's
put
it.
that one
But
to
anyhow,
bed.
I had to go with Robert on that. Robert, listen, one more thing I got to tell you, Robert, because I'm going to give you a little advice on Coming to America, because I watch your stuff.
Like the
We need
like
to get
the
it. We
movie?
need to get it. We need to what?
I definitely want to replay the movie, please, please.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's not politically correct. I'll be anti-PC, but I'd say really play the movie.
We need to get
This
you
Coming
over
to
here.
America.
We need to get you on a channel with Truth and Telecoms. We need to get a brand. Look, we got 19,000 subscribers, which is a lot in telecom. Nobody cares about what the hell we're talking about, except, whoever cares, right? But I think if you're going to come to the U.S., we got to be able to utilize our channel because we had a lot of Wall Street people looking. We have to get you on there because there's two identities. There's Bird and then there's Robert Vis. I like what Robert Vis has to say. And there's going to be a lot of people in this country, a lot more than your country, that are going to like your style. So you need to.
My country doesn't like me.
No, they don't like you.
Definitely doesn't like me.
Well, you're successful. How can they like you? You're not supposed to be successful. What do you mean? You're an American at the core, kid.
But don't forget, we have a lot of potential. But like we have a third of our revenue is from the U.S. So like it's actually we're a very funny company. Most companies lean towards like 70%. A third of our revenue is U.S., third of it is Europe, third is APAC. So we're pretty global. So problem with the U.S. is time zone a lot in a lot of situations. Europe's actually better time zone.
The U.S. is going to be wide open to you. You're going to eat the U.S.'s lunch. Look, you got Zillow, right? You don't know how big
I used to live in San Francisco. I lived in New York.
No, San Francisco is not America. Okay, you want to come to America? I'll take you to America. San Francisco's in its own little island, right? It's a different world out there. But Zillow is an important customer.
I've been to Europe, Jersey. I've walked.
Not Queens. No. Come to West Virginia. Come to West Virginia. Come to parts of Texas, and you're going to see America. That's America.
I can never do well.
They'll love you there. They'll love you there because you're free speech, right?
Yeah. But anyway,
of course, it's
not free speech. But
let's start wrapping it up, okay? Because we could go on.
No, there's nothing to wrap up. I told you, you hush down there. We got Viz on the line here, and this ends when the Viz says it ends.
Okay.
This is when I need like some like person whispering in like your ear saying like, oh no, you can't have him stay on anymore. It's like over, right? Like the president.
No,
if you watch Trump, there's always saying, oh, you only have 5 more minutes.
Look, this is about fun. This is about people having hope. This is about investors having hope. You gave the industry some really good advice over here. They need to go consolidate. They need to go meet at MEP and all come together and make Dario Betty the CEO with Gertzman, and they need to go figure out where they're going to go because Wall Street's done. They're not giving them any more money. So look, and I'm just pissed off for all the grandmas that have been robbed.
Twilio, Cinch, and Infobip merged.
Twilio buys Cinch. They got a great deal. Infobip, they tried to give the company to Twilio. So One Equity Partners went to Twilio and tried to give him the company and said, give us whatever you want. And Twilio said no. That's when Jeff was still there. Because I know people everywhere. I'm connected to everybody. You know the top 5 oligarchs in Europe because you guys created it. But there's a lot of other people in this industry, right? You guys are the messaging oligarchs. I know them all.
Europe has oligarchs?
Yeah, you have SMS oligarchs. You, the Infobip guys. It's funny, when we went to go sell the company, Thorsten said, Kalera's not on that list because they're a scam and they're too stupid. And Infobip scares me. I don't want to go there. That's literally the only two companies he would not sell to. He had it on the list. I will not be sold to Kalera because they're too stupid and they're criminals. And he was right. And then Infobip, he was just terrified of Silvio. I don't know what Silvio did to him. He might have bumped into him in the bathroom or something somewhere. He's terrified of him.
They're just really tall. I think they're just really tall. I think that's it.
Look, I love the Croatian soccer team. I love watching soccer. I love watching the Netherlands. Although I'm not.
They do a lot of good
recently.
They do a lot of good for the country. I mean, I think not to speak.
I grew up with Croatians.
I
love Croatians. You know what? Croatians an amazing country. I mean, look at the population. How good their soccer team does. So I don't see what everybody else sees. And look, if you want to go deal in different countries, you got to pay the king's daughter. You don't like it? That's just the way it is. Just because we live in Europe and we live in the U.S. and we don't do these type of things, not the way it works. unless you're Ericsson, they don't care. They can make those deals all over the place, but they end up paying fines. But look, I think this was a great conversation with you. I'll keep going for days with you because it's been boring lately, and everything's boring. And we're going to be moving into a different sector myself, more at the core network side, because this is over. But we need to root for you. We need to help you. Look, the Zillow. I want to talk about Zillow. Zillow is one of the most important companies in America that nobody talks about. How did you nail them?
So we actually have so what people don't like, one of the reasons why we loved SparkPost so much when we acquired them was what people don't realize about SparkPost is that SparkPost is the largest email sender in the world. So it does about 40% of all global B2B email.
Yeah.
So SendGrid and Mailgun were actually with the parent company Mailgun, which I forgot what they're called, but they were quite big as well, and they have a lot of developers, and they have a lot of revenue. But if the metric was amount of emails sent on a yearly basis, we'd whoop the shit out of both of them all day, every day. So if you think about the industry that we come from like a wholesale side, basically being the platform that enabled Twilio and back then Nexmo and a bunch of all these other folks that used our platform to basically go global. That in its core, these identities were actually very similar. Because SparkPost was a wholesale email provider and we were a wholesale telecom provider. So that's why we love them so much. And SparkPost is actually the backbone to almost every company that you know. So if you want to talk about brands in the United States, we have most of the entire Fortune 500 already as a customer.
So why are we talking more about this in the market for your IPO whenever you're ready?
We've only just started. We only launched the platform. We only launched the CRM platform in February. It's now August.
Pretty exciting.
We gotta. It's hockey stick growth. I mean, we're doing really well, but it's a new business, right? Like it's a fundamentally new to our core business before. It's built on top, but like it's fundamentally different to be in the application side than to be in any type of wholesale side. So it's much more about what you do with the messaging. And we're making more of our customers aware of the magic of our platform. And there's Zillow.
And why is Salesforce? Why is Salesforce peaked up at you? Why are they interested? I know Gene. Gene doesn't pay attention.
But I think Salesforce. But I how I look at the industry is like people want to define everybody into boxes.
Yep.
So you're this, you're that. You do this, you do that. Like let's be really realistic. Even if I built the most amazing technology in the world, the biggest platform in the world, all this sort of stuff, and we're better than anybody else. Imagine we're 100x better than anybody else. The interesting thing about the enterprise is these things don't matter as much as people think.
Yes.
So the way that I think about like the space and how it's going to evolve, especially on the application side, is that you're basically going to bolt on to different things. So yes, could people use us as our standalone CRM? Yes. And will some companies do that? Probably. Are we competing with Salesforce? No, I'm not like in a deal with Salesforce for, $30 million to rip and replace everything. I also don't have the ISV network and the developer network and all that sort of stuff. Where I think the industry will much more go is that I think we have built what you would call a new age CRM with different technologies. We had and I think what you're more going to see is that people are going to augment us together with existing CRMs, and you'll keep some of your core there and you'll keep some of your core with us. I think we're much more a danger to general B2B SaaS companies because you won't need them anymore. So you won't, now you buy customer service from Zendesk, and then you buy your chatbot from this, and you buy your AI from that, and you buy your loyalty program from another provider, and you buy your integrations from another provider. I think lots of those companies have we're competing much more in that space because we consolidated them all into a single platform. So our customers get, they get the CRM, they get CDP, they get marketing automation, they get chatbots, they get customer service, they get AI, they get so many different, get workflow automation, they get so many different connectors into third-party platforms, data ingestion by directional. So they get so many different things that I think we compete much more there. And then I think there will be core players that we work really well with. We work really well with Oracle. We work really well with Cisco. We work really well with Salesforce. But that's more how I think about the business than us right now. You talked to me 10 years ago, I'd be like, I'm going to kill them all. Because that was much more the way that I thought about this. But like right now,
you've evolved.
I think if you build partners together, I think you can be
Is
much
your
stronger.
goal either going public or being acquired by one of these big players, or you don't really care? You're just focused on building.
I don't really care. I think I mean, out of those three, I think the option of being acquired is very small because then we would have already sold.
Yeah.
I think the option of IPOing is relatively large, just because at some point I think the highest grail as a company is to become a public company. I think the benefit that we have is that we're still completely
make sure Goldman underwrites you. You can't lose. That's another conversation.
I like all of them. You know, they're all JP.
It's not about who you like. It's about the mortgage pretty big. Yeah, no question about it. But Goldman is just, they're really good in the way they sell internally. And you're just you're golden with them. I got friends at Goldman, so I lean towards them.
I'm a Goldman fan, but I'm also a Morgan Stanley fan. Any person that wants to be an Uber driver for a year just to work to get the deal for Morgan Stanley to take Uber public. Now that's hustle. That's hustle. You cannot. That's hustle beyond hustle.
Yeah. Are you targeting 1 year, 2 years, 3 years? I got to ask these questions, otherwise I'd be a bitch.
I know you sound like a Bloomberg journalist. There's no target. I think the way that I think about this, look, again, we're very fortunate. We still control the company, so we get to make these decisions ourselves, which is great. But I think, we're focused on long-term building for customers, and we believe that this industry might shift a couple times.
Yeah.
And I think in order to go public, in order for Bird to go public, let me speak for myself. I could not do what I don't judge what other people did, but I could not do what some of the other people did. For me, it's fundamentally important that we have built something that has long-lasting value for customers so that our IPO road is super chill. When all these companies don't have a chill IPO road, it's because they were all too focused on the money. And then they realized that 2-3 years down the line, they might have not built the right product, and then they're all fucked. I think if you're much more focused on customers long-term, you have built something sustainable that is growing sustainable, that is good. I think you have something very valuable that you can do. And, we have all the metrics. We're profitable. We're growing. So exactly. We don't worry too much there, but we still have to prove out
you're profitable? You're not supposed to be profitable.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
We do higher EBIT margins than I think anybody in this industry has ever seen.
Wow. A lot of guys in the industry say that. It's funny how many people poke at you guys behind your backs, but that's okay. Keep it up. You know who
we have more. About. We have cash in the bank. We generate.
Is it a non-GAAP profitable like Tulio? Non-GAAP?
No, we paid taxes last year.
That was a joke. Non-GAAP.
Oh.
Non-GAAP profitable. Non-GAAP profitability.
We actually paid taxes. So that's on a GAAP basis.
But you're a company out of Netherlands. Of course, you pay taxes when you get up and breathe in the morning. Get out of there, and then let's do a Bird podcast where it's just about Robert Vis and his views of the world. You got to start branding yourself and being edgy. Edgy works here in the U.S., kid. Don't work in Europe. They don't like guys like you. We love guys like you.
Now I have to be fearful to get arrested in Europe, so I might have to get out of here.
You can't even get you can go rob money out of the store now and can't get arrested here. So you can rob billions of dollars and you can't get arrested here.
In fairness, though, the Americans arrest people overseas. It's just not the Americans that they arrest. That's the real truth, right? Because Americans, Kim.com, Snowden, there's a couple of people out there that the Americans like chasing people outside of the country. But I do agree with you.
Those
Americans inside of America don't get chased.
Listen, those guys go a different level of far. It's kind of like, when Google can make an assassination attempt just to disappear on search, certain places you just don't go. But I'll talk forever, Robert. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming on the show. And we want to do something with you, offline or something with your branding. Just Robert Vis. Robert Vis and his views, because I watch your posts on Twitter. I'm like, nobody's even watching. It's annoying. They should be listening to you. Your company is important. No, it's not okay. It's not okay if you want to go public in the U.S. and you want to build a brand. It's going to be a lot based on you, because I would bet on you. I don't care what you're selling. You could be telling me, Johnny, I got these shoelaces. I'm like, all right, I trust you because you tell the truth. And you know what, Robert Vis? Nobody tells the truth in this industry. I've been around. And when I meet somebody who tells the truth, good, bad, or indifferent, it's priceless. And America will embrace you. So that's the last time I'm
Hey, I love you guys.
Bed.
Hey, I love you guys. It's like you see me on any other podcast or anywhere else. Like, you know,
No,
I deny
you
all
come
this.
here because we tell the truth. We tell the
I
truth.
deny all that.
One more favor.
Stuff, but you guys make me laugh so much. Like I literally rolled on the floor laughing, literally falling backwards yesterday. And I was like, this is just so funny.
But you do know that. You do know that I wrote that for you.
Of course, you don't think I realized I got catfished? Of course I did. I've been on Tinder. I know how these things work. But
okay, one more favor before we go. Hey, can you join MEF and make me your representative? They won't let me in. Think about it. You don't have to go now because Gershman's got to let me in. I tried. Did a whole podcast telling how much I love him.
I think if I would try to access them now, they know my stance for so many years that I think they would not let me in anymore either.
Robert Gershman is the chairman. Robert makes the decisions.
Yeah, Robert's also the one that writes weird posts about us. So, I don't think Robert's the bar.
Yeah, he just wants you to shut up so he can sell more stock. He's actually a good guy. He's already cashed out. I know. God bless him.
I love that Robert and Christian. I mean, this is not for public, but I love Robert and Christian. Robert and Christian. I know Robert and Christian when I was running Zapay, which is my company before this. And in all fairness to them, they are true hustlers. They started Cinch back then. I think they just started. I mean, they were a month in. They were flying around the world together. They went to go see every customer, tried to get them on board. So. They are the original hustlers from M-Blocks that moved and built Cinch. All respect to them.
I'm glad they cashed out. Silvio's got to cash out. Thorsten, I don't know what to do. Me and him are going to start fighting pretty badly. Sit back. It's going to be a lot of fun. Watch the show.
I like Thorsten too. You like him too. I know you like him too.
Honestly, no. There's a difference.
But you like him too.
It's not about liking him. I understand him. I respect his toughness. Scipio Partners, the venture group behind him, literally had me working with them to remove Thorsten, made a deal with me where I was getting 20% of all the stock on the GMS deal around Thorsten just to sell the company and then drop dime on me. So at least Thorsten stabs you in the chest, whereas Scipio Partners are just maniacal. But no, I don't like.
Who even knows who these people are?
Scipio Partners are a fund out of Germany. They're the largest shareholder, and they run the board for Wire, which is a competitor for Telegram. They own a few other venture groups out of Germany, and you're going to be hearing their name. We're going to have some fun this year. So look, anything you need to market, anything you need to get out to the U.S. Like I said, we have the capacity to get up to tens and tens of thousands of people for you. And Truth in Telecoms, my show is your show.
Okay. Now I'm going to end because otherwise you're going to trick me into saying some bad shit at some point. I think I tried to behave. I tried to behave for as long as possible.
All you got to do is whisper the bad shit to me and I'll say it.
Yeah, but I'm not that type of person. The other thing, what's the other?
You're not.
The other reason why. All right.
Anyway, this has been
Alan,
great.
Johnny,
thank you so much.
This was so fun.
Hang out for a minute.
And good luck.
Hang out for a minute.